Welcome to the Transum Podcast, a monthly roundup of the new features on the transum.org website, providing mathematical puzzles, games, learning activities, and the ever-popular mathematics lesson starter of the day. Here's your host, John Tranter.
Hello, and welcome to podcast number 66 for the month of May 2020. And I'm going to begin this time by reminiscing. Now, when I was a 10-year-old at school, and if I had been asked to name some famous mathematicians, I would probably have said Pythagoras and Johnny Ball. Now, the former is obviously for his proclamations about right-angled triangles, but for me the name Johnny Ball was very familiar. He was a regular fixture on children's television in the late 70s and 80s, and he presented programmes about maths. Though he's now in his 80s, he is as jolly as ever and still super enthusiastic about mathematics. Now, his daughter, Zoe Ball, presents The Breakfast Show on the UK's BBC Radio 2, and Johnny was a guest on her show recently, presenting the following puzzle.
What's the puzzle, Dad?
Right, Eva, has chickens and she has eggs. So one day she takes the eggs to market, right? And up comes David and he said, "Can I have half your eggs?" She said, "Just a minute, are you panic buying?" He says, no, I've got a lot of friends around, right? And I need a lot of eggs. So how many eggs you got? And she told him, he said, "Right, I'll take half the eggs plus half an egg."
Right, half the eggs.
So she said,
plus half.
all right then. So she gave him half the eggs plus half an egg. And along came Clara. And Clara said, "Oh, hello, Eva, you're selling eggs? Yeah. Can I have half your eggs and half an egg, please?" He said, "Are you panic buyers?" I said, "No, I've got a few people around. Half your eggs plus half an egg." So she gave her half the eggs plus half an egg. And along came Betty. And Betty said, "Oh, hello, Eva. Can I have half your eggs, please, and half an egg?" And you said, "The world's gone mad, but here you are, half my eggs plus half an egg," right? And then along comes Alan, and Alan says, "Can I have half your eggs?" She said, "Well, if you like." He said, "I haven't got many." He said, "I know, but give me half your eggs and half an egg." He said, "All right." And she sold out of eggs. So the question is, how many eggs did she start with? And how could they possibly do it without ever breaking an egg?
Oh, clever. Okay.
Okay, I'll give you the answer to that puzzle at the end of this podcast. But in the meantime, while you think about that, I'll ask you, how are you? Have you been keeping yourself busy and happy this last month? I've been super busy, not only with teaching online, but also getting engrossed in programming projects for the website. So here are some of the recent creations. Fickle Fractions is a new activity I created in one day in response to a request from a teacher working at home. She was teaching her own class online, as well as supporting her own two children. This activity requires pupils to compare pairs of fractions in order to make their way through the maze to find the door with the trophy hidden behind. There are 5 levels, so this teacher that suggested the idea has levels that are suitable for her classes and for her own children, and I'm sure one of those levels might be useful to you. So that the links to all the activities I mentioned in this podcast can be found at transum.org/newsletter. They're all there. Threes and Fives is a dominoes game that I remember playing many years ago with my family at home. The score is calculated as the sum of the numbers of 3s and 5s that divide exactly into the numbers on the ends of the domino line added together. Phew, that was a bit of a mouthful, but once you start playing the game, it's actually quite simple. It's a drag and drop activity for 2 players, or 2 teams of players, and it actually works well via a video link if one person shares their screen.
You can find Transum Mathematics at www.transum.org.
Visualize Percentages has been created for the Shine and Write collection. Initially designed to be projected onto a whiteboard in front of a class while the teacher holds an interactive discussion about strategies for thinking about percentages in mental calculations, but of course you could use it in all sorts of different contexts. So I hope that's a useful visual aid for you. And also during this last month, I have made some more help videos for common trig ratios, for percentages in your head, for simultaneous equations, and for prime numbers. And each of them is intended to be a reminder of a concept the viewer will have hopefully already learned in school. So it's not intending to teach the idea from scratch. It's a quick and simple revision tool, I guess. And I'm trying out different formats for these videos, and I'm still not sure whether the viewer will, as research suggests, benefit from seeing my face in the video. I'm not sure about that, but the human connection apparently is meant to be a good thing. But so I'm trying some with and some without, see what happens. Okay, I've also created a mathematical style guide, and I've only just got through the basic stages of it at the moment. It's really for my own benefit, trying to achieve consistency in the text used throughout the website. And I've just added a weekly reminder to my calendar to add one new item to the style guide each week. But if you have any suggestions of the way we should all be writing down certain mathematical ideas or phrases or concepts, do let me know. Oh, a new level 6 has been added to the averages exercise, so it now includes group data. And as every month, many more worked solutions and new questions have been added to the exam style questions section. So lots of those for you to use with your classes. Okay, don't forget the links to all of these things are in transom.org/newsletter. Okay, I've been doing some one-to-one tuition via video link during these difficult times, and I would like to report one teaching situation that actually worked better remotely than it would have done if we'd been in the same room. Measuring angles with a protractor. Normally, as I've been teaching for many years, I know that it's sometimes quite difficult for the teacher to see in detail what is going on when the pupil is sort of hunched over their work with a protractor and you can't really see what's going on. But if you use the online version with a drag and drop and rotate protractor, then the student opens that page on their computer, they share their screen, they can then zoom in on the angle that they're measuring, and it's really easy for the teacher to see exactly what the student is doing. So I would like to suggest that that's a better way of teaching it one-to-one than it would be if you are actually together at the same place. Have a look at it. The link is in the newsletter, as with everything else. Thanks to everybody for all the feedback I receive. It's so nice to receive your emails with suggestions and questions and sometimes compliments, but because of the time differences, these emails often arrive in my inbox during the night. But it is nice to get up and for me to read them when I wake up. What a nice start to the day. So thanks very much for all the feedback you provide. Finally, the answer to this month's puzzle. I figured it out by working backwards from the end of the story. Alan's purchase was for half of her remaining eggs plus half an egg, and this left Eva with nothing. So half of her eggs must have been equal to half of an egg. So she must have had one egg in her basket before meeting Alan. Betty's purchase must have been 2 eggs, as Eva would have had 3 eggs before meeting her. Clara's purchase must have been for 4 eggs, as Eva would have had 7 eggs before meeting her. David's purchase must have been for 8 eggs, as Eva would have had 15 eggs before meeting him. So the answer is 15. And if you look back at those numbers, there's some interesting number patterns generated in this story. So maybe that puzzle will be of use for you to pose to your students. Right, well, that's all for now. Keep up the excellent work you're doing with all this remote learning malarkey. I'm sure it's going down better than you think. Keep up the good work. See you next month. Bye.
Thank you for downloading and listening to the Transum podcast. You can find the website at www.transum.org, where you're welcome to use all of the activities absolutely free, or jump in with both feet and become a Transum subscriber.